What do you think's better, a stock or an asset purchase?
Well, if I'm a seller, I want it to be stock because I want them to pick up all my liabilities. Okay, that they get when they buy the corporation or the LLC as an entity.
Yeah.
If I'm a buyer, I only want asset purchase agreement.
Yeah.
I'm buying all their assets in known liabilities specified. But if there are other liabilities I'm not aware of, I don't pick those up. Okay.
In the asset purchase agreement.
Correct. We are back again.
Yes, we are. Immediately back.
I know. Gosh, we only had a brief break here.
We can't act like, all right, look, we'll be honest with our viewers, right? We literally just cut an episode.
Yeah.
Now we're back here. We took a quick bio break.
Yep.
Came back.
Yep.
PV team's got us set up for episode 2.
Yep.
But you're going to see that we're wearing the same thing we were in the last week's episode.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, we're not going to lie to you about that.
No, but it's okay. Maybe, as far as you know, maybe I wear the same thing every day.
That's true. You kind of narked us out, didn't I?
Yeah, that's okay. So this isn't we're not doing a fashion show here. Okay, we are talking about business, small business, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Hence our name.
Yeah.
Big Talk about Small Business.com.
Well. Hopefully that got your attention today. Hey, let's do something. Let's take something out of this white cap.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You want me to grab it?
Yeah, please. We got a lot of topics in there.
There's a lot of topics. Because we need to be reaching in there more often.
I know, it's true.
Entrepreneurship is about freedom and flexibility. What are your thoughts on that, Mark Zweig?
Yeah, right.
It's not, is it?
No, freedom is a myth.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can make any choice we want to make, but if we want to stay in business, we're going to make different choices.
That's a good point.
Than if we just want to be impulsive and do what we feel like at that moment, right?
Right. Yeah, so you can't expect, and I think this is also good for the existing entrepreneurs, like, because you hear these things like freedom, and flexibility and entrepreneurship, and it seems it's that enticing candy that you're going towards. But if you followed that, now you're in it, you're like, I don't feel like I have freedom or flexibility. What's wrong with me and my business?
It was a lot easier before we had cell phones.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could check out for extended periods of time. Nobody could find you.
That's true.
They almost didn't even blame you because you couldn't be found.
Yeah, it's just like,
nobody could be. They couldn't be found either, maybe.
Man, that's very true. Like in today's time, like you really buying a ticket to non-freedom and non-unflexibility.
It's funny. Yeah, it's like I used to love it when 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my realtor would say, well, we'd be like trying to make somebody made us an offer and we make a counter offer, or we're trying to buy something. We made an offer. It's like, well, they're out of town for the weekend, or they're going on a trip. I'm like, you and I both know they got their friggin' email on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm calling that.
Yeah.
That's no excuse whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are going to be tethered, but I mean, truthfully, you do have a certain amount of flexibility that you may not have in corporate America. Nobody's checking your accumulated vacation time.
Right. Right.
You don't have to ask anybody if you can take off and go to the dentist.
Yeah, and you got to use that one. That's actually that's a very isolated flexibility that I take full advantage of.
Yeah,
I can bounce out for a couple hours.
Yeah,
no one has really the ability to ask what I've been doing and where I've gone.
Yeah,
and that does feel good, I would say. But it's kind of it is reserved as my escape for when things become when my fears have overflown.
Yeah, and you probably do it so you can go spend time on another one of your businesses.
No, that's mostly what I'm doing.
That's the other thing. It's not just to get away, whatever. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. But it's not. It's like I got 6 different things I'm trying to do here simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you do. I mean, I do think you have more flexibility in some ways.
And instantaneous decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think like you have, like, honestly, I'm going to vacation next week,
Yeah.
with the family.
I'm going for 2 weeks coming up later in July too.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I have the freedom to do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting there looking at sorry. I'm looking at a cash flow forecast that says I'm going to run out of money exactly when I go. I'm like, oh, crap.
That is so awesome. Dude, it always happens.
That 4 weeks from now, the cash flow projection goes in the toilet. Okay.
Dude, you cannot, as an entrepreneur, disengage. You cannot do it because it's impossible.
I'm just trying to push out a week every week.
That's right.
Push the crisis out one more week.
And just because we're having a vacation set for the last 6 months.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that week's going to be any different.
No.
Because I'm going on vacation.
Yeah, it's so true.
And I feel guilty for going.
Where are you going?
We're going to Destin.
Oh, Destin?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sit in the hot sun for a week.
One of my daughters is going with her boyfriend's parents, and they'll be there somewhere. And then my other daughter is going with her friend and her friend's grandmother.
Oh, nice. All back on the beach?
Yeah, they're all going to be down there somewhere. What is that, 30A or whatever?
Yeah.
They're all somewhere down there. Destin, Sandestin, Seaside. I don't remember. Rosemary Beach.
Mm-hmm. It's all those places.
Yeah, it's all those. So how long are you going for?
Just for a week.
Did you rent a house or hotel?
Like a little condo complex kind of deal.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's nice. We just go back to the same place every time. I love it.
That's what I do when I go
because there's some familiarity to it.
Yes, we always go to Fort Lauderdale. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same place.
And I've been able to request of my wife to keep it as simple and convenient as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the price tag on it isn't as much of a concern as the fact that I can get there in a direct flight.
Oh, the flights are cheap, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are.
I mean, Allegiant or whatever that is, or Breeze. I can't remember which one.
But they're both called, two of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can get there in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Land, drive to the condo, be there in 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then Tara's got it worked out where everything's like delivered by Walmart.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. She discovered that. I mean, what a convenience, right?
Yes.
Where she's actually already made the order last night.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be at the condo.
Set.
You're set for the week. There it is. And then she just lays stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's just this routine thing. But I mean, I've been able, and I've made some requirements. Like I need it to be like direct flight.
Yeah.
I don't want to be jumping around airports for a full day.
I get it.
I don't have time for that crap. Stresses me out.
Yep.
And then I have to have good Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Wherever we're at.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I get down there and I stay in trouble. Like literally my pattern is this. We get down there, I work for the first couple of days really hard, because the girls are sleeping and stuff.
Sure.
Or I'll go to the coffee house. But by Tuesday, if we're down there on Saturday, by Tuesday morning, I start getting in trouble.
It's like, you're going with us today, buddy. You're going to the aquarium. You're going to the beach.
I start getting in trouble, right? And then by Thursday, I'm in full cooperation. I realize that I'm on vacation. But by that time, there's only 2 more days left, but I appreciate my spouse.
Yeah.
That's what's great about a supporting spouse.
Good partnership.
It is, because they recognize like that you can't really disengage, and so they find ways to support that, and then we can all have a good family vacation.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that my wife is the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, she's fantastic. She knows when I'm going through something to let me deal with it and not make me feel bad about it.
Like even whenever things are going really well as an entrepreneur, there's not a freedom to me of not doing something.
No.
Because there's too many things to fix.
Exactly.
And so you'll never arrive at this freedom place, I don't think, as an entrepreneur, if you're really an entrepreneur, because you're doing something to fix things.
Yeah, and no question about it. And the other thing is, you got all the other ties, like your bank loans that may be secured personally. In fact, they probably are.
Yeah.
So if that goes bad, then you've got to cough up the money. I mean, so of course you're going to be worried about stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, if you're not, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
you're not free. It's not like I can just go could you go borrow money and go buy a friggin' boat or $1 million boat or something? Yeah, you could, or whatever, or use your cash that you had to do that. But it wouldn't be smart. You know that.
Yeah.
You're going to want to take that money and deploy it in these other businesses.
That's right.
So it continues to multiply and create opportunities potentially.
That's right.
And they don't all work out. You know that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Free.
You're not free.
Out the door.
Freedom is a joke. Well, let's talk today about, I think, a really good topic. You don't have to start a business from scratch, because that's always been one of my things in entrepreneurship and small business. At the higher ed level, they constantly push startup. I mean, if you look at how many classes we have in new venture development, how many sections, how many people teach it at the Walton College, it'd blow your mind. We probably got like 8 teachers of that class, and most of them are doing multiple sections, but there's no class on how to buy a business.
See, that's a shame. Because the reality is, if you buy a business, you're buying existing revenue and customer base.
Oh, man.
Versus starting one, trying to get new customer acquisition.
So much less risky.
So let's talk about that. Like, I want you to go ahead. What are you going to say?
I'm just going to say that I do actually cover that in my small enterprise management class, but I'm the only one that teaches that. So it just kind of gives you a sense of the ratio.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, like, getting new customers is like the hardest and scariest thing.
So
you can do, and it's like everything's dependent upon that working well, which comes down to the word marketing.
Yes, it does.
Which everybody discredits and puts under, shoves it under the, under the rug.
Yeah, and some businesses need a lot of marketing before the business starts.
100%.
In order to be able to come out of the gate and have a viable business. I see this all the time, though, with things like some kind of a marketplace where you got to get buyers and sellers together, whatever it is, and they don't do the pre-marketing.
Yeah.
So when you turn the switch on, there's buyers and sellers both there, people who want and people who provide.
Yep.
And it's dead in the water. People go there and they see that it's not worth being here.
It's so funny, like, when you talk about that ratio of what's being taught, because having a customer base that is a paid customer base, and if you bought a business that's been in business for 5 years, 20, even better, the longer the better.
You're absolutely right.
That has built this customer base, and you have somebody that's just wanting to get out and transition to retire, or death in the family, some sort of circumstance. They just don't want to do the business anymore. Like, there's probably not a higher percentage of success than to buy something.
So true.
Like that.
Dude, it's so true. I mean, I got a friend that does this.
Yeah.
He looks for baby boomer owned businesses that have been around a million years, okay? Because they got all these customers.
Yeah.
They got employees. They got suppliers. They got systems. They got a location or locations. They have no transition plan whatsoever.
Yep.
Okay, and he swoops on in.
It's great.
Every time.
And it's usually a win all the way around.
Every one of these businesses, he immediately grows them and by doing several things, like putting processes in that they don't have and doing marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of them, they're not doing any marketing.
Well, because they become dependent upon that flow, and then they're like, some along the way, they go, well, we don't have to do any more marketing to grow the business. I don't really want to grow the business, because the more I grow it, the more problems I have.
I'm making a good living now.
Yeah. And that's what I set out to do. And man, that's I should get more into that, honestly. You want to go buy some businesses?
I'm always into it. I mean, and then the thing is, the guy, the businesses he buys, though, are related to each other in some way, tangentially. So you can share customers.
That's right.
Between them, or you can share talent.
Yeah.
Customers are talent.
That's great.
It's just such a great strategy. And look, guys, it actually works. He's buying one right now, okay, for a couple million plus. It's an old company. It's been around, let's say, 50 years.
It's great.
All right. And it's got real estate. It makes the owner of the company, I don't remember what the numbers are exactly, but a really good living right now, this business, okay? One owner. he's getting the business for free just for buying the real estate.
Yeah. Because it has that value to it.
Yeah, the guy doesn't even want to deal with the business itself. He's just going to be like, okay, well, you can keep doing it if you want. Okay? It's like, is that not brilliant?
It's great.
So the real estate's so easy to finance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's real estate. It's got a secured asset.
Yeah.
Okay? And then he gets this business, and then he's just going to go in there and do the same thing he always does. Study it. Maybe change out a few people, put his processes in place, start marketing.
Yeah.
Boom.
Just grows.
It's you're so right about that. It's just so much. I never told, I mean, I always said, when you buy a business, you get the customers or clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But I never thought about it quite exactly how you post it. It's so hard to build your customer base, okay, from scratch.
It is so hard.
It's like
inexpensive.
Everybody says to me, earlier this week, I had a discussion with one of my former students. He's like, I'm trying to figure out, I want to start a business, okay, on the side from what he's doing. He goes, I can put $150,000 into it. What do you think I ought to do? So I said, well, what are you thinking about right now? Well, his first thought was packaged energy drink or protein drink, okay? And I'm like, dude, do you know how hard it is to gain distribution with a drink if you've got a one drink product company?
Yeah.
Who is going to buy that?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
No, you won't get any traction. You won't get any distribution.
Yep.
Super hard to do.
Very hard.
Okay. Or people come up, I got a new product. I'm going to put it on my website and I'm going to sell that product.
So hard.
Driving people to your website is so freaking hard.
It is.
But if I can go buy a business that's already got hundreds or thousands of customers that have used it.
If you have a business that's got like 10,000 people in your email database.
Yes.
I mean, man, that's just like, it is the gold mine. Because it takes years to get to that in a lot of circumstances, you know? I mean, I think that I would love to see if you could do a study, have your students do a study about the true value of an existing customer base versus trying to build that same customer base. Like, really, what did it take? Because it's not just marketing. It's just not call to actions. It's not the sales.
It's not just the people that you got.
Yeah. And then, because once you get them and then they stay in, like now you're talking about churn and
Sure.
like how much churn did you
That's
have?
a big factor.
It's huge. And then like you've got a performance, customer service. It's everything about the business is locked up into that customer base.
Or I love businesses where it's really hard for them to disconnect from you.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite ones. Like they're so dependent. They can't like turn this thing off.
That's right.
Or they're dead. Okay.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's like accounting software, whatever. They don't want to bother with convert. Yes, it's not perfect, but you know what? I'm not going to unhook from
That's
it
right.
either.
It's the pain of transition.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yep. So
It's not worth it.
It really is interesting, and this is so true. So, yeah, I think getting the customer base is super critical.
And then what about this? This is something I'd love to hear you talk about on the financing.
Yeah.
part. Like it's easier to get financing for a business that's been in existence.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's of course it is because it's a proven thing.
Yeah.
You can borrow money on the cash flow. You can get, it's got assets you can use, accounts receivable,
Yeah.
equipment, whatever. So, yeah, and the equipment may be depreciated too, so it's cheaper. Then you could go buy all that new, put that together. I mean, there's just a million reasons. It is easier to finance.
And so like if you're
And if I can get the seller to finance part of it, that's always where I go.
for sure. And so like to the point, if you're listening to this and we say we had a listener that's thinking about starting their own business.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is if you don't have any money yourself,
Right.
or access to other capital, which is not necessarily the best thing. I mean, you've got angel investors, right? Family and friends or something like that aren't looking for IRRs, investor returns and all kinds of craziness, that they
They're
would
patient.
expect. Very patient. I mean, just believe in you.
Not that they all are. I'm just saying the ones that,
Yeah, they just want to help you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They want to see you.
It's not a rational, financially driven decision.
And I think that's dangerous. Like that's even more dangerous, right? Even if you do get that very, non-strings
Benevolent.
attached, yes, benevolent capital,
Yeah.
angel capital,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's going to put a lot of pressure on you right out of the gate. At least it should. But being able to, like, a good decision, if you're that person that's like, man, I'm really itching to be my own boss, like we talked about last episode, or have freedom or have flexibility, like we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Going and buying a business based on their current financials and getting an easier loan against that business without having to come up with the capital yourself, like you could, that's just like such a no-brainer.
Every time I ever got involved in buying a business, or most every time, or advising people, we always try to get the seller to finance 100% all of it, if possible. That's your goal. I love it because I always ask my students, because we do talk a lot about this in my small enterprise class, and I have them write a paper on it. And if they tell me that the first place they're going to do is say have their own cash, or they're going to their family or whatever, I take it off points. I'm like, how many times have I told you people, you always, I don't care if I got 100% of the cash sitting there, I want the seller to finance it to me.
Yeah.
Why? Two big reasons. Okay. One is I've got a way to claw back at them if anything was misrepresented, because they haven't been paid all the money.
You have a continued due diligence process.
Yes. That's exactly right. I've got a way to get back. Okay. Secondly, they want to see me succeed, the seller of that business.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're going to help us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't get paid.
Unless you do well.
Exactly.
So can you talk about a little bit about the mechanics of that? Like, what does that look like? So I found a business, say I found a plumbing company, it's a two-person business, owner's ready to get out. I want to buy a business. How do I approach that seller?
Well, I mean, 2-person is pretty small. Okay. But let's just say 10.
10.
Just for the sake of it.
Sure.
How do I approach the seller? I call him up and say, look, I have, I have no idea whether you'd consider it or not, but I would be interested in talking with you about, I don't know what your plans are. I would be interested in talking with you about potentially selling me this business.
Yeah.
And see what they say. Then shut up. Okay? And see what they say.
The key thing.
And if it's I'm open to that idea, well, then let's get together and let's have a little talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you got any numbers you'd be willing to share with me, that'd be great. If you want me to sign some sort of an NDA,
sure,
I'll be glad to do that. Yeah. So, I can't just blab your numbers all over the place or recruit your people.
Yeah, right.
I'm perfectly willing to do that, but let's talk about it.
And so when you meet with them, then at some point you bring up, hey, would you consider owner financing this?
Yeah,
financing this.
I mean, I might talk about that, or I might save that for when I actually send them an LOI, letter of intent, or MOU, memorandum of understanding, about a basic offer structure.
Got it.
I'm not necessarily going to ask them if they're going to finance it initially. If I did, I would probably pose it as, now, I assume that you're going to be willing to finance this deal, part or all of it, because there's not a lot of buyers out here,
right? Yeah,
not clamoring to buy this business, right?
Yeah.
That just nobody's going to come in here and just give you a bunch of cash and let you go out the door.
So literally, like on the like you might have had multiple conversations, reviewing financials, all this discussion, and then you're saying, hey, I'm going to send a letter of intent over to you in the next couple of days. And when you send that LOI in there will talk specifically, my offer is this, upon your acceptance of seller financing this deal. This is my offer for you. If you'll seller finance, then my offer stays true.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of details on that.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily have to have a lot of meetings. My approach is, I want to see financials, okay? But I'm going to take a shot across the bow real early.
Okay.
Because I want to find out if they're realistic.
Okay.
I don't want to waste my time with anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so a typical LOI, let's say, or MOU, to buy a business or to do an asset purchase agreement, it's going to spell out, like, right away, this will be considered, the form of this transaction is going to be a stock acquisition, or a stock sale, or an asset purchase. And, we'd have that. We will pay you book value for your business. Okay. We're not specifying a number at the time of closing. And we'd like for you to finance that for 24 months based on 8 quarterly payments.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to spell out stuff like that. We will have a note in there, okay, for a certain amount of money. All right. We're going to pay that over 3 years in monthly installments at 9% interest. We'll give you an employment agreement for 1 to 3 years, depending on your interests, okay, and plans that will have an expectation of reduced work time commitment for you.
But you're not saying what the salary is. You're not
Right.
saying any
I'm
numbers
not.
in there.
Exactly. I'm not, if I can avoid it. I mean, now I could do that.
Yeah.
I could say, we'll pay you book value at time of close. Okay. Right now it's 400,000.
Yeah.
We'll give you a note for another 300,000 paid over 30. I mean, we could say that. Okay. It's all based on these current numbers.
What did you mean?
As of a certain day.
We'll pay you 400,000, but give you a note at 300,000.
The 400,000 is for the book value of the business.
Okay, so it's the value of the business.
The book value, assets minus liabilities. The 300,000 basically represents goodwill. That coupled with the employment agreement. Okay.
So
you would add all that up for the total price paid for the business.
Got you. So the book value at 400 grand plus the 300,000 of the note.
Right.
So what does that go to? I mean, is
That's seven. What does it go to? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, where's the, like, what are you buying for the note? Like, what's the note buying?
It's buying the future cash flow of the business.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's the goodwill. All right.
Got you.
It's not all secured by hard asset. None of us would ever sell our business for book value.
Right.
Assets minus liabilities? Hell no.
Right.
Not even close.
Right.
It's worth far more than that, as you know. You sold your software company. That wasn't based on book value. It was based on the future potential earnings.
Got you. Okay. So that's the two instruments there, the value of the business itself.
In the employment agreement, don't dismiss that. The reason employment agreement is part of it is we may or may not have them do anything to get paid that. We may just want them to be available.
Yeah.
Okay? Or we may want them to work full time for a year and 50% the next, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So that's part of the premium. And the reason why is we can write that off as an expense of the business.
Right.
Okay. So it's part of the consideration, but normally these payments we make to the seller would not be tax deductible for us as the buyer.
Right.
So you understand that. So the more of it I can shove toward the employment agreement. Again, consult your legal and tax advisors on this.
Yes.
But the more of the purchase price I can shove over to an employment agreement or consulting agreement.
From the seller's perspective, it doesn't matter how it comes necessarily, does it?
It may or may not. It all depends on what they've got and what their accountants are.
Well, I guess if they're getting paid as salary or something, then that's obviously got a tax bracket.
Right. It's a tax issue.
It's not a capital gains.
Cap gains or it's ordinary income. Okay. But yeah, sometimes it's to their advantage that it stretch it out.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't kick them into the higher bracket.
True. Yeah, true.
So anyway, yeah. I mean,
so why would a seller be motivated to do the seller financing? Like, what's the value for their side versus saying, man, hell no. I mean, like, I guess that if I was a seller in the company, I'd be like, I want all my cash now. Like, I don't want you to spread it out over time.
Yeah. But you might not, because there could be tax advantages to spreading it out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe you're going to get interest on that. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't get that money out of the company right now.
Right.
That could be really critical cash for you to get.
Sure.
Which is going to allow you to like pay off your house or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. In the next 2 years and be done with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any other options.
I was waiting on
You're sick. You got cancer. You're going through a divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, you're tired.
You don't have people knocking on your door every day wanting to buy your business.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like if you want to...
They do. They all want to give you the same kind of deal I'm going to give you.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
So you got to think about who's most likely to make this successful going forward.
Well, and a lot of people got to understand too, if I had a business like that and I want to sell it, I'm in a position that I'm eager to sell this business for whatever reason. That's not an easy, quick process by any means. I mean, like, how are you going to sell it? It's like, how do you sell a car? How do you sell a boat? Like, I mean, there's a lot of work in selling a business because there's so much detail in it. It's more complicated than buying a house.
It does. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to develop.
And you got to market that.
You got to pay the fee to the business broker or the private or the, the investment banker that's representing you.
Yeah. So it's a big deal to have somebody come and offer you to buy the business, even at seller financing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you have faith that they're going to be able to operate it.
Yeah.
Like I talk, maybe you can keep the real estate and and that's an asset for you. Like I had lunch yesterday with a friend of mine and we were talking about another one of our friends who has a certain medical practice. Okay. And it's very profitable. They do certain things, procedures there, surgery related.
Yeah.
And so he sold his business 5 years, seller financed and got to keep the building. Yeah. So he's going to have ongoing income from the building.
So he basically leased back out to the buyer.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's a great deal for him. He's going to be making more money and he doesn't have to be there. Freaking tired. He wants to do other stuff with his time.
Yeah, that works out well.
And so as long as they have faith that the buyer has the capability to continue the operation. I mean, so that is a factor. But if I came to you to buy your plumbing company and I'd already had a very successful plumbing company, or I'd bought 3 other plumbing companies, you'd feel a lot better about me than if I never had a plumbing company or I never knew anything about plumbing at all.
Because basically the seller turns into the financier in this whole transaction, right? And they need to have faith that you're going to actually pay what you said.
Exactly.
You're not going to come in, destroy the business, 6 months later, default on your payments.
Right.
And then you got a big pile of shit in your hands that actually has lost value.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a risk on that side, right?
Yeah.
From a seller's standpoint.
Absolutely. I mean, that happened to us with the private equity firm we sold to. We still had a going interest. We still had an ownership interest in the company that was created, with our company being merged with 2 smaller companies, and they blew it. They didn't have experience in our industry, truthfully, successful experience. Now, the way we looked at it in that case was we'd already gotten enough cash that we figured if it did blow up, we weren't going to feel bad.
Right.
We felt like we got out of it what we deserved.
So could a seller get kind of screwed on this whole deal?
Yeah, a seller could get screwed.
So what does that look like?
The buyer doesn't run the business successfully and can't make the payments. And usually the security is the business itself.
And so then
or unless you get a personal guarantee, you might have a personal guarantee, but then they may not have any assets.
Right. But then as a seller, you have to go sue them and you have to go through the legal process, right?
Yep. So it can backfire on you. And you can end up with, it takes a lot of faith in the buyer.
Yeah.
They've got to be solid people that have a good track record.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
Okay, so you submitted the LOI, the seller agrees to your LOI.
Yeah.
Now what happens?
Now we go into due diligence. We've typically got, let's say 90 days to work out the details on either a stock purchase agreement or an asset purchase agreement.
What do you think's better, a stock or an asset purchase?
Well, if I'm a seller, I want it to be stock because I want them to pick up all my liabilities. Okay, that they get when they buy the corporation or the LLC as an entity.
Yeah.
If I'm a buyer, I only want asset purchase agreement.
Yeah.
It's no different. I'm buying all their assets in known liabilities specified. But if there are other liabilities I'm not aware of, I don't pick those up. Okay.
In the asset purchase agreement.
Correct. So as a buyer, I would always rather do an asset purchase agreement. Mm-hmm. I don't get the sexual harassment case I was unaware of. Or the $100,000 credit card bill that somebody racked up that's not been disclosed in the name of the company. This stuff happens.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it does. So there's a lot of trust from the buyer end with this. I mean, you basically, to put it,
It's
make
a
it
point of
simple.
negotiation.
Yeah, make it simple. It's like any other transaction to where you're buying a house is a good example.
Yeah.
Like you don't, like what you see and you like it, but once you buy that damn thing, you start figuring out, oh, wait a minute, this, like in our case, this one room is really hot all the time. Right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like,
Right.
why it's not insulated correctly.
Yeah.
That wasn't disclosed.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody knew, but it's my damn house. It's my problem.
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right. But
exactly.
so that in an asset purchase situation like that, that would actually fall back on that seller.
Not necessarily. No, the asset purchase, it wouldn't necessarily. The main reason is not to pick up liabilities that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So because I'm spelling out everything I'm buying and every obligation I'm taking on.
These are all the assets I'm buying. Here's all the known liabilities that I've agreed that I'll also assume from you.
Correct.
In order to close this deal. But it's really, I'm buying these assets. That's why I'm going to give you this money. Whereas the stock is, hey, I'm just going to buy your interest.
I'm buying the company, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Okay. And that means I inherit all the liabilities.
Everything that's involved in that damn.
Yeah. Like they did a job 5 years ago. Now they're getting sued. Okay. That's my lawsuit now.
Now, can it swing the other way from an asset standpoint? Let's say that you bought from me an asset purchase, right?
Right.
And you listed out the assets. Okay, Eric's got, 15 cameras and 15 microphones, blah, blah, blah. But what I also have that I didn't talk to you about and you weren't aware about is I have a trademark on a product that I've released in the market.
Right.
But you don't have that listed out.
That could be, you're missing that then.
Exactly. So it works on the other side too. Like there might be unknown assets that my company owns.
But you could spell out, I'm buying all assets of the corporation.
All right.
Okay. And then I'm specifying these specific liabilities. You see the difference in that?
Yeah, for sure.
All assets of the corporation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a tax implication on either or both sides?
Oh, yeah. I can't. I'm not going to.
Are you not a tax accountant?
I'm not a tax accountant, but there could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
In some cases, it may impact whether it's treated as capital gains or ordinary income.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, and I don't know what the basis, if there's going to be a difference in the basis.
So anybody that's interested in doing this, they definitely need to finding a really good business attorney.
Thank you.
Deal attorney, even more.
Yes.
More granular.
Yes.
Right? And shout out to Adam Flock with RMP Law Firm. I mean, I just wanted to say that. We don't really do that very often.
Yeah.
But he's a fantastic deal.
Great. I pass it along.
job.
I mean, I could say in the AE industry, George Christodoulou was the guy that is just, he's the best.
Dude, it's like on that, like it is such a big deal to find a really good attorney that knows how to do the deal.
Money well spent.
So well spent.
And my experience is that the really good ones, they actually don't cost you more money because A, they're such good negotiators.
Right.
And B, if they've done a lot of it, they're not learning at your expense and just charging hours and hours and hours against it.
Do not get your brother-in-law who is an attorney, a divorce attorney, or I mean, nothing against those folks, but it's disastrous.
It is.
Because these things that you spell out in this contract are massive, right? And there is a specialty to knowing what to ask and how to classify things.
Yeah, and just knowing the process and knowing what to look out for.
Dude, and not to mention the worst thing that could happen is that maybe you say they know all the paperwork, but this attorney starts getting in negotiations, and they piss everyone off because they're asses, right? And
they think that's their job.
That's bad.
Some of them. That's not what you want. You want the one that thinks, my job is to get this done.
Get this deal done so people get paid.
Right.
And that's how I get paid.
Exactly.
I'm not in litigation.
Yeah.
To that point, there's a different type of attorney for litigation.
Exactly. There's a different specialized attorney for everything. Attorneys generalists are not what you want, guys.
No, not in business, man. That is.
You know?
I had to learn that the hard way.
Yep.
Kind of time and time over a few times,
Sure.
because I wanted to believe it was really not that complicated. It wasn't really, should not be this expensive. I'm getting ripped off by somebody that says, oh, I can do this, but I charge $500 an hour. I'm like, my God, there's no way,
Yeah.
But the reality is, man, and you need to ask your friends, or not, your peers in business, trusted mentors and advisors to find these people.
Yeah.
Because it's not like going to a bank, like it's not a little bit of difference. It is a massive,
It's so
potentially destructive
Yeah.
piece of difference.
It really, good attorneys too, they can provide a lot of tax advice.
Oh, 100%.
It's
a huge deal. That's the thing with Adam. Like he's a tax attorney too.
Right.
He knows how you set up the entity, how you come to the table, and how you buy that company, or even how you sell that company.
Big implications. Yeah. So all that is so true. It's just, we could talk till we're blue in the face, and there's still going to be listeners out there who get their brother-in-law or the guy who handled their traffic ticket because they really liked him.
Yeah, man.
Or the person who did their wills, trusts, and estates, or whatever.
And their attorney wants to get in this, and so they're going to use them as a guinea pig and learning example, like you said.
Yeah, people just won't listen to us on that all the time.
And so to close this conversation, I know we hit one point, but I think that's really important, like in the discussion of buying a business versus starting one. That whole deal making process, and do you have to be an expert in deals to go buy somebody's business?
No, I don't think you have to. You just need some good advice
from.
There's a lot of resources you can do. You can read up on it. There's a lot of information out there if you want to capture it.
Yeah, and then the first thing that I would honestly do is go find that attorney.
Yeah, that attorney is going to be critical.
You can ask your network, and you can research online. You can do a lot of things finding a good deal attorney, and just go start with that conversation. I have interest in this business over here. How should I approach this?
Yeah, exactly. I helped one of my students this last year go through this.
Really?
And, he drafted a preliminary LOI. I added some things to it. Then I sent him to the attorney to look at it. Okay, the attorney made some changes on it.
This isn't an illegal Zoom. LOI, don't get an illegal Zoom.
No. I'm glad you said that. Okay, and then you go with the LOI at that point. Yeah. Okay, so there's resources out there for sure.
So after the LOI, you go through your due diligence, maybe 90 days, and that's a very important time period as well.
Right,
extremely important. And I've been a hasty person on that side.
Yep.
On the buying side.
Yep.
And I was screwed up.
Yeah.
And there's always something or some things that you don't really catch in due diligence.
The problem, I think, with a lot of buyers is that they get so psychologically invested in the idea, we're buying this company over there, we're growing, we're buying this.
It's emotional attachment.
Yeah. And then there's red flags come up. It's like, we're buying this company. I don't want to bail out of it. I had this one student of mine, she bought a 3PL, really smart girl.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't say I ever was a speaker.
3PL, third-party logistics company?
Right.
Okay.
She'd worked as a CFO in a steel company that sold steel. She worked for FedEx. Okay.
Wow.
So she had a lot of experience in that field. She buys this business. Okay. Now, it did turn out to be misrepresented. And she clawed back.
And that's not easy.
The buyer. Okay. And she had a very rough couple years out there. Okay.
People don't, big warning thing on the whole. This is why an attorney is so damn important in these things. Because yes, you can claw back if you have the language in there to begin with in the contract, right?
Yeah.
And there's laws and regulations, but the pain.
Right. She just refused to pay the guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, back on the due diligence topic, the reason why is that the biggest client of this business pulled their business, and the seller knew that, which she could prove because when she bought the business, she got all the email. So going back in the email prior to the purchase being closed was the evidence that this guy knew he was losing this big client. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But that due diligence could have, a better due diligence process would have uncovered that, let's just say.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so critical, as you said.
Yeah. And again, do not minimize the pain of going through some lawsuit trying to get this stuff done, because it will be very costly and it's risky. It's like a whole nother level of risk on itself. Like even if you have evidence and you're trying to sue for that, it doesn't mean you're getting.
Oh, no, it doesn't. They may not have anything. Oh, back on this deal I was telling you about, though, they spent like $2,500 on something. I don't remember what it was during this due diligence phase, whether it was appraisal of the business or legal work or whatever. And her husband's like, well, we've already invested $2,500 in this. We're gonna go through with this deal. Mm-hmm. She laughed at, $2,500 compared to the six-figure losses that we had annually. Okay.
So true, man.
After that, it's like $2,500. That's gone. Okay, that's nothing.
It's kind of like not deciding not to get an home inspection before you buy a house because it costs $600.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to spend $1 million,
$1,000,000,
but I don't want to spend $600.
That's right. And then you find out the air conditioning goes to the kapoots after you buy it. And it's
it was obvious. Right. Would have been obvious. Yeah, no, it's the same kind of thing.
It is, man. That's a good discussion, man. We're out of time.
Well, we need to come back to this because I think a lot of people don't understand this process. They think it's impossible to do. Right. They say, I don't have the money, so I can't buy a business.
Right.
They don't think about buying a business as an option. It just doesn't even come up. But it is such a great option.
It really is. I'm getting really intrigued by it.
Yeah. So,
cool.
Well, it's been a great discussion once again. We appreciate our listeners.
Yeah,
we're growing. We're growing. We're on Instagram now too.
Dude.
Okay.
It's huge.
Yeah. YouTube, Facebook.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Come on.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
We're on Apple.
Yeah.
We're on Amazon.
Spotify.
We're on Spotify. We're on
iHeartMedia, dude.
Yes.
We're freaking everywhere on the internets.
We are ubiquitous, one might say.
Yeah.
So, no, but seriously, tune in, share our podcast, write in with your comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
Get on www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com and see all our past podcasts and learn.
And learn. And then ask questions.
Yeah.
We want to be here for you.
We're here. We're doing this for you guys.
That's right.
We're not trying to sell you anything.
No.
Okay?
No.
So, all right, Eric. Well, until next week, this has been another episode of
that Big Talk
about
that
small business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.